Yes, sir, we're officially back at it. This is Boog Nice coming at you with the Diamond Select Toys Marvel Select Destroyer Armor Review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey I'm fucking with. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about it.
Taking a closer look at the back of the box, I think I'm going to go ahead and read this long-ass bio. So if you don't want to hear me read this entire bio, then you can skip ahead about a minute maybe. Follows when the Celestials threaten the destruction of Earth, Odin, the All-Father of Asgard, created the Destroyer armor. Once it is inhabited by the spirit of a sentient being, it embarks on its mission to destroy. Powerful beings can amplify its strength 1,000-fold, but only powerful minds can guide it in less destructive tasks. Although it did once fulfill its task of facing the celestial host, it was defeated. The Destroyer armor has far more often been used against Asgardians and humans. Loki has dispatched the Destroyer against his brother Thor. Thor has physically worn the armor to take on Hela, Queen of Hell, and Odin himself donned the armor to battle his son Thor, wielding the Odin sword in the brutal contest. And then it says the 7-inch scale Marvel Select action figure of the Destroyer features approximately 16 points of articulation and includes the Odin sword as well as an interchangeable head of Odin, sculpted by Jean St. Jean. And then down there on the right, you can see the $24.99 price tag because Zach didn't send me this for free. And then on the right side of the box, you can see some artwork of the Destroyer armor that looks pretty cool. And that's how the box looks from the front. Marvel Select at the top, Destroyer on that left flap, another piece of artwork down at the bottom. And then you can see the figure in its full glory and the interchangeable head and sword through the clamshell here. So let's get this guy open, see what he's about. Taking a look at the Destroyer armor out of the package, and it's pretty good. I know this is one that a lot of people really been anticipating ever since they showed those first images late in 2016. A lot of people were really excited about this one, as was I. But if you know me, I just wanted to get this to kind of couple it with my Marvel Legends. I'm not a huge Marvel Select collector. I'm very select with selects, and I usually only get the ones that could kind of be fudged or used in some perspective shots with Marvel Legends, and I think that if you want this figure for that particular purpose, then this will be fine for you. So let's look at the accessories. So the figure comes with this sword, which is pretty nicely detailed. You can see some little ridges on the handle here and a pretty intricate design right above the handle before the blade, and it is kind of raised here. There are some sculpted parts, and it's mostly gold on the handle, but it looks pretty good. It does have some weight to it. It's not really flimsy or anything like that. The blade is pretty long, and it looks decent, not bad at all. And then you also get an interchangeable head for Odin here, and this is pretty nicely detailed. The hair is pretty much white with some gray highlights or some gray dry brushing in there, and the beard looks nice, and you can see his eye patch, and you can see some little wrinkles in the face. This is a pretty nicely detailed face. Marvel Select is known for doing some really good paint work and great sculpting, so this does look very good. And just taking a closer look at the Destroyer armor, I'm not a huge fan of the way they did the head. I think the head sculpt could have been a little more detailed. I think some of this line work here is a little sloppy. I saw somebody comment about the size of this part here on the head, whatever you would call that, and I think it's pretty accurate to the comics as far as that goes, but something about the head, the design, the paint work on the head, I think is just a little off. I think it could have been a little better. Overall, I feel like it doesn't look as good as it looked in the early images, and I think this is not some of Marvel Select's best paint work throughout here. I think it could have actually been a little more detailed, and some of these things could have looked a little more detailed. Now, don't get me wrong, it is pretty accurate to the comics as far as the look, but I don't know, some of this line work just looks a little sloppy, and I would have liked it to look a lot more sharp. Good thing is though they added all of the spikes and everything on the armor. That was something that was definitely missing from the Toy Biz Marvel Legends version, which I'll show here in a moment, I guess, in a size comparison. But at least they were able to add on the spikes. And, you know, just looking at this and comparing it to pictures from the comic books and stuff, like I said, it is pretty close, pretty accurate. This is a pretty massive figure too, standing about 9.5 inches tall, and obviously it has some weight to it. You know, Marvel Select makes some really beefy figures, so it is a very big figure. Now, I will say without a doubt, this is the best Destroyer armor that we've gotten from any line, though, no question about it. In terms of articulation, the head is on a ball peg. I actually haven't removed the head yet to swap on the other head. I guess I'll do that in a moment, but I'm gonna do the articulation first. But I can tell by the way that the head is moving that the ball peg is probably very small, and you're not going to get a really good range of motion on the head, unfortunately. I saw somebody comment on my Instagram, and they said that they hope that the head could look down, and unfortunately it cannot. It's not going to go down. It's going to go up just about that far. It can go left to right and do a full 360 and get a little bit of pivot, but that's pretty much it, and that's very disappointing. One of my pet peeves, I hate really big figures that can't look down. It is just a pain in the ass, and it's pretty annoying. They did something pretty unique here with the shoulder pads. This is something I've never seen Marvel Select do. This is kind of reminiscent of some of the recent SH Figure Arts Star Wars figures I reviewed. The shoulder pad is on a ball joint, so it can move and kind of pivot and rotate and move around, so it won't hinder the shoulder articulation in any way. Both of them will move. They can actually pop off this little ball peg too. I'll pop it off and show you. Oh yeah, just so you could get a closer look at that. So that's pretty cool. And then the shoulder's on a ball joint. It'll get a pretty decent range of motion. Actually, it'll go up just about that far, and it can do a full 360. Joints are pretty tight. You do get a upper bicep swivel. You do get a single jointed elbow. You get a swivel at the wrist and a hinge as well. It's going to be the same articulation on both sides as far as the arms go. The upper torso has a point of articulation right below the pecs, I guess you can say. It'll move back and forth just about that far, and it'll also move left and right. And then there's sort of like a hidden point of articulation here at the waist, so you can actually turn them at the waist all the way. So a pretty decent range of motion in the upper torso. I've had the legs up this entire time, but that's about as far as they go up. And then there is this sort of old DCUC style joint here, so the legs will come out just about that far. You get a single jointed knee, you get a hinge on the foot, and you also get a pretty decent ankle pivot that's a little tight right here. It's actually hindered on this side by the spikes, so it's actually only going to pivot inward on both feet, which is kind of weird. There we go. They are working. Joints are just a little tight. They will pivot all the way inward, but again, it's going to be hindered on both sides by the spikes. And I actually forgot to mention, you actually do get some rotation here, like mid-thigh on both sides, so that helps. You know, usually with figures, the rotation will be at the very upper portion of the thigh, but being that they put this extra cut here, I understand why they did that, and it's cool. You know, Marvel Select has been very limited in articulation early on, and over the past couple of years they've been adding in quite a few points of articulation. So, and as a look at the ball peg, like I said, pretty small. I'll swap on the other hand. With the sword and the interchangeable head, he can hold the sword with either hand. Just a closer look. Pretty much the same amount of articulation, probably a little less as far as the range of motion with the Odin head. You know, you're not going to really get them to look up or down too much at all. It'll turn left and right, but that's pretty much it. Very limited. And a couple quick size comparisons. Up first, we got the Marvel Legends Doctor Doom. We are long overdue for an official, definitive Doctor Doom. Hopefully, we'll be getting that soon now that they're starting to revisit some of the Fantastic Four characters. But I'm surprised they didn't mention Doctor Doom in the Destroyer armor. I think that was one of the most recent appearances for the Destroyer armor. Maybe the Kid Loki in the Destroyer armor was after that, if I'm not mistaken. If you know in the comments, if you know, let me know in the comments below. But at one point, Doctor Doom in the pages of Thor was like siphoning energy from some of the Asgardians to power the Destroyer armor, if I'm not mistaken, and he actually got inside of the armor and fought Thor. So that was one of the things that I was really thinking about when I wanted to pick up this figure. And then there's a look at the Toy Biz Destroyer armor, which at the time that it was released was pretty decent. It was always very small, way too small, but they did not put any of the spikes or anything on this armor here. They just kind of took some liberties with this thing and kind of half-assed it, I guess. But obviously the new Select version is totally crushing the old Toy Biz Legends version. And then there's the Marvel Legends Thor, and this is actually the costume that he was sporting when he fought Doctor Doom in the Destroyer armor, and you can see the size there. And I think this is pretty good, although I would assume that Diamond probably feels like the Diamond Select Thor is the proper size. I think this Legends one works a little better, honestly. I'm not even sure if I have the Marvel Select Thor around here. I think it might be in my office at work, so I can't really show you that size comparison right now. But I still don't think we have a definitive Thor either. I think we definitely need a very nice Marvel Legends Thor. I still don't think they've gotten it right. So definitely not a bad purchase. Definitely one I would recommend. I think a lot of people are going to pick this guy up. I think this is going to be a popular figure in the next month or two as it starts to release everywhere. And I did mess around with the head a little bit more after popping off this head and putting on the Odin head and putting this one back on. You can actually get the head to look up a bit more than I expected. You can actually kind of even half it on that ball joint and get a better range of motion as far as looking up. Still not going to look down as well, and that is definitely the downside to this figure, is that head and neck articulation. But overall, stay tuned for quite a few more reviews from me before the month closes out. And stay tuned for Main Course 100. I guess that'll be dropping in February. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.